and I've been on the road two, 2 years and 4 months. Um, Connections and community are kind of where my heart is. And so, one of the things that I really enjoy is helping our community, helping it grow, helping it stay stable, and being part of connecting other people. So, if you look at the what is that thing called? The place where people can type. There's
The
a
chat.
couple of links. There's 3 links, 4 links there that are all of the Facebook groups. Because Full-Time Families has, is it 50 branches, Stephanie?
Yes, I think we're up to close to that now. Yeah.
Um, those are location groups and special interest groups. Everything from the veterans, uh, the natural nomads, traveling mercies, the secularists, the crafters. I mean, there's like tons of special groups to for your interests. They've tried to, if somebody says this is something that interests me, and they get a few people, they've tried to start a group for you guys to help make those connections, because we know it's easier to connect with somebody who has a shared interest. And so that's what the branches are about, is giving you that place with a shared interest. Um, then there's also Pinterest. With some, we have somebody working on the Pinterest that's awesome, because there are some great pins there to give you ideas for RVing and also making connections. Instagram, another one, and then Our Village, which is it's like a board, and they guys, I might have to give it to Stephanie to talk about Our Village, because I don't do, I'm like on there, but I don't do it, so I don't really understand it. So I'll give Stephanie a minute to talk about Our Village.
So our village is actually a platform that was set up by escapees, but it isn't like some of our old school forums. You can start a topic to talk about, but there's several groups in there, and Full-Time Families has been on there since before the Jenkins and Schroeder's time, and then they moved to Facebook and some other things. But it's really for people that don't want to use the Facebook platform. Some people really just don't want to be on a lot of social media. They don't want to follow a bunch of pages. So it's just another platform for people to try to connect. But it also allows you to check into the campground and the location you're staying at. So a while back, we used to have a family finder that on our website where people could log in and put where they were to try to connect other ways besides Facebook. And it would pinpoint a location, so you could pin it and where you're at and open the map and find out who's there. Well, it had some glitches, so we did away with that. But our village has that opportunity to do that. So we've tried to go back to some of that platform and use that for people who want to really just kind of be off Facebook, but give a broader idea of where people are that are on the map. So you can, let's see if I can pull up a screen real quick and kind of show you what it looks like. So, okay. Hear the birds. So, can everybody see this map?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's cool.
so the blue dot is where we are, and these are people that have logged in all around us. Now, granted, they may not, this is just the main map for my
Okay.
location, so this isn't pinned for the actual families. But you can go to your groups. Sarah, were you able to approve that person? Make sure they're in. Okay. Get back to my page. Sorry about that. Okay, so this will show this is where Full-Time Families is. There's 613 members. So here's the group map. So this shows me all the families that are in my location.
And so those are just full-time families that are right there right
Right,
now.
right.
Wow.
So these are people that are in the group, in the Full-Time Families group on RV Village, that have actually gone in there and put their location in. You know, some families don't want to put a specific, but you know, just an area even. Some people want to, like, I put the campground in there. I'm in a campground. I'm not worried about it. It's a big campground. I'm not worried about people finding me. I don't put my rig information on there, but that way they know exactly where I'm at. But so yeah, so definitely check that out if it's, you know, if it's another way to utilize you know, a map location where you can and get people directly where they're at. So
Hey Stephanie, do you have any examples of how that has helped you? Like if you had trouble or you were able to jump in and help somebody else that was that needed assistance near you or anything like that?
um
Like meetups or something?
on our village I haven't. I think when I was first on the road, we did get on there and have some conversations with a couple of different families, and that's one of the ways I found out about the Facebook Full-Time Families, or the big group, the big organization. Um, so, but I haven't like seen a lot of um, conversations on there about like needing help or anything like that. Um, but I haven't been on it. I'll be honest, I haven't been on it in a little while either. So yes, our village is free. Yes.
And I can jump in and tell you that we use it all the time. Every time we move, we update our location. I did not know we could narrow it down to full-time families though, so that's really cool. Um, and then we actually, just before we went full time, we did go to an Our Village event and in our hometown, and met up with some folks that we still have connection with today. They're not full time families, but they're people who actually were launching at the same time we were. They're in our age group, but we're older parents, so they happen to be grandparents retired, and but they're really nice folks, and we have connected with them. We actually met up with one of the couples that are retired healthcare folks, and they were down in Southern California with us last year, and we met up with them, and so it's another avenue of connecting with folks, and not necessarily families, but still can find, like-minded people. And so it's just a good resource. I'd love to see more full-time families using it, because it is a nice way to see who's near you. Anyway.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. That's great information to share. Yeah.
So I learned something about RV Village that I did not know, and like I've been a member of it since Escapees, because I think when I joined Escapees, they were like, "Oh yeah, you need to do that kind of thing," but I've never really used it. So we do have quite a few families who come in and they're like, "We don't want to do Facebook," so I see this opportunity to address that for them, since I often have first-hand experience with those uh, doing what I do. So yeah, that's exciting to be able to give them that option. So even though I'm the presenter, I learned something. Yay! Um, so some of the best ways to make connections are ways that we're not able to right now, which are meeting up in campgrounds, the events. You'll see, I'm sure y'all have seen, what should I do when I get started on the road? And one of the just about across the board, folks will say, get to an event, because the events give you those larger numbers of people to connect with and hopefully make some of those relationships that will last a long time. The other way, especially like during this time, now that we're going to start, some of our places are going to start opening up a little bit in a couple of weeks. Yay. It's going to look a little different, but the boards, the branches, the ones that I have found most useful for making connection, to finding people. Oops. Yes, okay. One of the ways that I have found most useful is using the location branches. So Southwest, North, Pacific Northwest, East, Texas, Florida, and I'm missing something. The Midwest, right? Is that right, Stephanie? There's 7 total, right? Now I have to look. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I should have had that already in my mind. I believe there are 7 locations.
Sorry, I was muted.
Is it
Yes,
7?
so there's the East, Florida, Midwest, Texas, Northwest, Southwest, north of the border, which is Canada and Alaska, and then Mexico.
Right. Okay. There is a Midwest, right? No? Is that part of the? Yes. Okay. I'm not in that group, so I hopefully soon we'll be able to get that area. But those location specific groups, what's amazing about them is that you get to go. Oh, and I'm going to add Thousand Trails, because although Thousand Trails isn't a location specific, we do know that it's limited to 81 parks and whatever encore parks are available. So they give you that opportunity to see where people are. We have a couple of moderators who are awesome about putting in information about the location. Like, where are you? It's where are you this week, I think is what they usually do. And you get that people put in where they're at. And so you can see, like, if they're near you or if they're coming near you, because a lot of us will say we're here until Wednesday, and Wednesday we go to this other place. And it's really an awesome opportunity to go have that chance to say, hey, we're here too, or we're going to be there. Ask those questions about the parts that maybe you're going to be visiting. Um, some of the best places we've gotten to visit are because I've said, hey, we're going over here. What do y'all have any ideas? And somebody will say, oh, you need to check out this Mexican food restaurant, or there was the cutest little museum. And so it's really, really a great opportunity to explore the area, but mostly make connections with other families that are there. We I tend to be out there. I don't care if people know where I'm at. Maybe I should, but I really it's not at the top of my radar. So people know where I'm at. You're usually going to see my name, and I'm telling you guys where I'm at. Um, I'm almost always open to have a cup of coffee at my place. You'll Most of the time I have a coffee pot outside. Right now, because we aren't supposed to do that, I don't, because I'll be honest, one of the full-time families that are here right now listening is right across the street from me. We can't hang out. um, so it's limiting right now, but typically, that's how I am. I'm going to invite you over. I'm going to host a campfire. That's because that's my personality. I don't expect everybody to host a campfire. However, when you're on those location specific boards, you're going to see somebody, say in Florida, go, hey, we're going to have a fire tonight in B, whatever. Everybody's welcome. Take advantage of that, because some of the best conversations I've had are around a campfire. I've learned some amazing things around the campfire. Like just simple roof care. Like I didn't really understand how important roof care was until we were already on the road. Mind you, I've owned RVs my entire life. My dad was a Thousand Trails member. If you notice, I'm a little older, so that's like a really long time ago. I've grown up with RVs, and I've had one most of my adult life, and I did not know how important roof care was. Now I do, and most of that came from around a campfire. Uh, so that's going to be, my next, and again, the thousand or the Facebook pages really give you that opportunity to see where people are and make that connection. The other branches, and again, there's a lot of them, so almost guarantee there's at least one that will interest you. Um, I think I'm a member of maybe 8 or 9, but honestly, I'm really only active in 3. Um, and those 3 that I'm active in are ones that speak to me specifically. The people that I'm in the conversations with there are like-minded. So when I say, if I have a question about something that we're doing, natural nomads, that's going to be a group that will appeal to a lot of people. What I love about natural nomads is if I have somebody with allergies, like we were March 14th, we were in South Carolina, and oh my gosh, like the South pollen is crazy. Um, so I could go on to the natural nomads and say, hey, this is something new to us. We're not used to this kind of pollen. What do you guys suggest? And they have great ideas. They have those natural remedies that my family prefers, and let us go ahead and try something different. Um, the road school group, oh, yeah. So, road school group is another one. Awesome. Uh, if you're homeschooling, I strongly suggest being part of the road school group, um, because they do have such amazing information there, and just support, because we all know it isn't always easy homeschooling your child. Um, and so the new things, like I learned that my daughter could get college credits from the road school group. Um, that's great. She's going to graduate high school with, oh, she'll have like 15 units of college credit. So, um, and that's just messing with it. That's like not being real intentional. For folks that are real intentional about it, you could come out with your AA or BA from high school with the way that they have, and that information is all on the road school group. They also have great stuff for preschoolers and for middle schoolers. I mean, it's just really a wonderful resource. Games on the Go is another branch. Now, we're not real active in that branch. However, we are members because one of the games they offer is one my 2 boys absolutely adore, and they get to make a lot of connections. So earlier this week, you guys saw the Roblox meetup. I think they had an opportunity for a Roblox meeting where you got to learn a little bit about Roblox. Never mind. Anyway, they it's my kids, my boys love it. They will spend hours, and because Full-Time Families has provided a, I'm going to say room, that's not quite exactly how it is, but there's that little that the group they go into, I know my kids are safe. I'm not having to worry about who may be trying to talk to them, who what may be going on in that group. Unfortunately, I've seen some that are like cops and robbers, where the robbers are supposed to be the hero. I really don't want that for my child. So by having the full-time families group, I know my kids are safe, and I know that they're not being exposed to things that I don't want them exposed to. And they also have they have Roblox, they have Minecraft, they have D&D. I'm missing one. Am I missing one, Stephanie, or is that all of them?
Roblox, Minecraft, D&D. Yeah, I think that's the main ones that they're playing online right now.
Yeah. And so, if you have a child who's a gamer, it's a great way for our kids to make connections, because that's the next part of that. We have kids who are not in typical environments to make friends. And the game is one way. Getting to an event, again, like when I went to my first event, so I had been a member over a year before I went to my first event, or really close to a year. And to see how my kids just blossomed because there were other kids to play with. Events are a little different setting, and so you have 20 to 40 other parents that are there also kind of watching out for your kid. These are all, we know each other, and we watch out for our kids. It gives the kids a new freedom that they maybe don't normally have, and it's just exceptional. My children have friends that they keep in regular contact with from their first event, their second event, and their third event. We've only been to 3. Um, Various reasons, location being the biggest one. We haven't always, but last year what happened? We were in a location where there were no events, and I knew there weren't going to be any events, and so I reached out to Full-Time Families and I said, I want to host an event, because if they aren't going to come visit me in my campground, I'll make them. And so we did. We had, up in Washington, we had a Full-Time Families hangout. And again, that's where my youngest son especially, who really has a hard time making friends, has made a lifetime friend. Like, these 2 boys will be friends forever. You can see it in the way they interact with each other. They're just, and without having attended that event, I don't know that we would have made that connection. Let's see. So we got events, campfires, the branches, location groups. I feel like I'm forgetting something, Stephanie.
Our explorers.
Oh, yes, explorers. Another one for our kids. Yes. Okay, so maybe I have not been so great with explorers the last few weeks, a few months. So explorers are for like 3-year-olds, 3 or 5.
5.
5-year-old to 10-year-olds. They have activities that they do each month. One month it was cooking. I think this last month it was needle art, right? It's been doing chores, setting goals. She's really awesome at having things that our kids can achieve, but they also may stretch them a little bit. And in the process of that, so they get to uh, learn something new, they get to feel successful at it, and they get to possibly make connections with other kids, because they do videos, and a lot of them, or take pictures. And so, like with our family, when we were doing it, and I'll be honest, we've been kind of not doing it a lot lately, but we would I would show the children the videos and the pictures of what the other kids had done. just to kind of let them know that they weren't doing this. It wasn't just mom saying, "Hey, you need to do this." It was, "Oh, look, you have people that that are also doing this," and they get badges similar to Scouts. And speaking of Scouts, we have an official Boy Scout group now, right? Is it up and running, Stephanie?
It is. We're changing it over to Lone Scouts, and that should hopefully be settled by this next week on how we're gonna change over, and everybody will register through Boy Scouts on their own, but we'll still do stuff within the branch, kind of like Explorers, where we'll try to lead the conversation, but we won't be an official troop.
Okay. Um, so yeah, so the Scouts, if that's something your child is interested in, it's going to be another way because they, like Stephanie said, they're going to kind of do things to help you guys out with that. And so Hope has
Can I?
asked to talk
I'm
about.
sorry. Can I ask a question about the Scouts?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Sorry. So we right now, obviously, we are waiting to launch, but Tyler and I actually were running a pack for Blake. We just wanted to start a den, and then they needed someone to run a pack. It was very small, and when I was sick with my pregnancy, we actually didn't do recruiting, and I also wanted to learn the ropes, but it allowed me the time to connect with other unit leaders, some that I'm friends with that have big packs. So I took a lot of notes, and we're definitely interested in helping out. Tyler says he's happy to help, but he knows that I do a lot of the back work. So if there's anything like that, but Lone Scouts, I don't know much about. So Stephanie, are you the person to reach out to for that in the future,
Yeah.
just to kind of
Yeah.
connect?
Yes, we can connect. So Lone Scouts, you actually register as a Lone Scout, and you're connected to a troop. And if you're in that area, you're allowed to, do things with that troop or pack while you're in the area. We work a little bit differently. So even though that you would be attached to that troop, you can still connect in any other troop that you want while you're traveling, if that's something you wanted to do. But it also allows us to be able to, I think, have our own little meetings. We really wanted to do our own troop and pack. We just couldn't quite get the commitment level that we needed to organize that whole big thing. So Lone Scouts gives us a little more flexibility, and we don't have to worry so much about leaders. But it would be really great to have like certain parents help with cubs, and certain parents help with, just kind of guided activities and stuff. Yeah.
Fair enough. So we did like Blake is just a really outgoing extroverted kid, so he's 6 and he wound up being the top selling kid in the whole district for popcorn fundraiser this year, and he was 3rd in the Northeast, and it was blowing my mind of how we made that all happen. But I'm happy for him. So he has all this money in his account, which we've talked a lot about how to properly utilize that money. He had Amazon gift cards. He picked like one game to get, so that's sitting there. But I said all this other money, we can go to state parks, and we can go, things that other families just kept dropping out and didn't even want to do local trips. And here we're thinking on big scale. So when we're looking, I guess, to switch out of hours, close that down, I guess, because no one could technically switch into hours, right? Because it's by the location. So we have to find one near us, switch in, and like for us, the fundraising is good because it pays for those
Right.
field trips, if you will, or there's no guidelines, and that was something that I spent a lot of time, especially owning small businesses. And I sat down with the district. There's different people in and out of our council constantly. It's like the rules were changing with so many things. But I said when it comes down to the funds, there weren't really guidelines, so you can really utilize that money to explore and give your kids the world.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Let's definitely connect.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you.
Yes, our son was in Scouts for just a couple years, and my husband was involved with part of the council, but it's been a long time. They're older now, and so we haven't been in a lot for a while. So it's just finding that person that could kind of help and give us information about how it all works on the front level. Yeah. So we'll
do what I can. I saved my notes. All right, thank you so much.
So Hope had asked about the different types of events. So parties, hangouts, meetups, and rallies. So it's actually parties, meetups, hangouts, rallies, I think would be the order that they go. So the parties tend to be smaller, right, Stephanie? Those are going to be like at the local campground. Those are the campfires, or let's go play a game of soccer, or one of those kinds of things. A meetup is usually where you're going to a museum, amusement park, or some other activity that's outside of the RV park. Tends to be, I think the Fulltime Families actually hosts the Legoland field trip, which is also a meetup, correct? No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Field trip meetup. Yeah.
Interchangeable? Are they interchangeable or are they different?
No, I think they're just designed. They're just designed as field trips. Yeah. I mean, you are meeting people, but it's called a field trip.
Field trips. Okay. Meetups are more like the designed in a park thing. Then, correct?
So meetups are like member-only events hosted by usually Fulltime Families branches or groups.
Oh,
Small.
I've been to one of those.
Yeah, small events. There's like max 20 people, and usually they'll last like approximately like 4 days is usually the average, but they can go from 2 to 7 days. And then hangouts. Sorry, I've got the link up here, so I can just read through it if you want me to. The hangouts are more structured, but not quite as big as a rally. So there's still maybe about 20 families, and they last 5 to 7 days, but they still have more like planned activities, scheduled potlucks, campfires, games, crafts, coffee talks, field trips, and kind of like what we've done this week, only just on a smaller scale, a little more time in between events to kind of let things happen organically. And then rallies are the big ones. They can have as many as 80 families. I went to one that had, 75, I think.
There was 74 at
in Texas.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So and it's still super fun. We had a really good time. They're jam packed with potlucks. It's a pretty it's a more packed schedule. So there's things that happen every day, kind of like this week, only, so it would have a similar schedule as this week has had, but you're actually going to a location every day that like what's the word I'm trying to think of? A recreation building. So we'd have the recreation building or a big field that we would do those things in regularly. Potlucks, campfires, games, crafts, educational experts, coffee talks, seminars, parade of homes. And then we always end with a gigantic wild dance party. So definitely, they are a little busier, but we usually break out into small groups. So our potlucks would be, 10 or 11 different groups of 6 families or so, so that you're able to connect on a smaller level. So, yeah. So those are the events. Any other questions on events?
So for I know the rally, and then what was the one below that? The hangouts, the
Hangout.
shorter ones. Okay, so those are always posted by Fulltime Families, organized by Fulltime Families. But if you want to do, I guess like a meetup or a party campfire, you can just post on the page, hey, we're going to so-and-so museum on this day. There's a group read at this. Does anyone want to meet up? Or we're going to the park by South Street at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Does anyone want to meet up? Is that how it works, or do I have it mixed up a little?
Yes. Yes, you can absolutely post on any of the location groups that say in the East, if you're in Virginia, and hey, hi, how are you? Hi. Hi, sweetie. So absolutely, yeah, you can always post, we're going to go to the pool, or we're going to go to the park, or we're going to go, we'd like to organize a field trip. Sometimes you can organize those on your own. If you'd like to organize with Fulltime Families, you can do that as well. You would just reach out to like the moderator or email into Fulltime Families, and we can try to help facilitate a group rate for whatever, and then organize it that way. So
Excellent.
yeah, we've done it both ways here in Florida. We've had families that organize field trips on their own, and just collect the money. And sometimes, sometimes Fulltime Families can get a better rate.
No, and that's great. That's great.
We might have like 60 families show up. The Kennedy Space Center was one of those that we used to do. They used to be
I vote
free.
that you do it again.
Yeah, they used to be free. Now you have to pay, but still, the rate isn't awful, especially for right?
I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute out. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're fine.
Play-Doh time.
Hey, Stephanie and Barbara, I need to bail. I have to prepare my daughter for a tutoring lesson in Spanish in a few minutes. And hey, thank you for sharing. I just joined about 7 or 8 of the branches. It's very cool. I'm really looking forward to the broader community. So thank you very much.
Thank you for
you're
joining us,
welcome.
Andy.
Goodbye.
Yes, thanks for coming. Okay. Hope asked if they're all paid. So your meetups, your hangouts, and your rallies that are hosted by Fulltime Families are all going to have some associated fees. Because we gather as a group, we have to cover insurance for the property and things like that. So there are some costs involved in that. The smaller and less organized the event is, usually the less cost is involved. And some of the field trips that we do are paid, and some are free. It just really depends on what they are. But I put in the events link too that will show what we do have, or I thought we had, let me see if we have a blog of past events. I think there's something that will talk about some past events that we've done that can kind of give you a little idea about that.
There was one not too long ago, Stephanie. It may have been longer than my mind is thinking. She
Right.
can reach the links a little easier because I'm just on my phone. So if you're not Thousand Trails members, how much more difficult is that? Actually, so some are at Thousand Trails and a lot aren't at Thousand Trails, believe it or not. They really try to mix it up. Used to be none of them were at Thousand Trails because whoever the primary host was put their membership on the line if there was any misbehavior. That has kind of changed, so it did allow a little bit more 4,000 Trails events. However, after my experience in Texas, if I'm ever hosting, I will not host at Thousand Trails because that was just, it was not a great experience. Having said that, if they are at Thousand Trails, It's not that hard. Thousand Trails has a non-member rate. It is open to the public to stay. It's only a few sites, but they always have some sites available to the public. And so if an event was at Thousand Trails, you could still come in. I will say though, depending on how long you're going to be here, it may be cheaper to grab the camp pass than pay the nightly rate, depending on where you're at. So like right now, I think it's $4.99 for a camp pass on the special that they run coming into summer, and that's 10 nights in Thousand Trails, right? So this year I think we had Stephanie's off.
What's that?
Was it just 3 events that were at Thousand Trails, and then the others were all not, correct?
Right. Yeah, Bend was at a Thousand Trails, right? And then RSI
down by the bay.
Down by the bay. Yeah.
So so all the other events were non-Thousand Trails. So
That's correct.
That answered your question, Hope? Yes. Okay. Do you guys have any other questions about ways to connect? Some of the things that are available? Nope.
That works for you.
Are you? That's not what I wanted to do. There we go.
Oh.
So I'm trying to think. The biggest thing. Oh, so back to the boards and the branches and things. Reaching out, being involved. I mean, that's like the fastest way to create community is to get involved in your community. And there are so many ways. Like Amy, you had said, going to a park. A lot of the RV parks have playgrounds. Of course, right now we can't use them. But normally, just a shout out, hey, I'm at such and such park. We're staying here for the week. Would love to meet some other moms at the playground around 11. And if it's a park with other families, you're gonna probably have families showing up. And this winter, my family spent the majority of their time at I know the answer to this. Lake Conroe in Texas. We didn't make it to Florida. Our original goal had been Florida. We didn't make it to Florida. We were at Lake Conroe, but we were there with anywhere from 5 to, I think at one point we had 22 families there. And so we were doing weekly, we had coffee chat at the park. We'd go down there around 10 or 11 in the morning and have a coffee chat. Moms brought their coffee, brought the kids, let the kids run around and play. We had, I think it was on Thursday, one of our moms hosted a game day. For about 6 weeks straight, she did that. And so the kids could come play games. And so those are all things you can do within wherever you are. Of course, the more families you have, the more you're going to get, the more people you're going to have attend. But even just 2 or 3 families getting together to do those kinds of things. Just before Christmas at Conroe, I had seen this really cute paper plate craft where you turn the paper plate into a travel trailer. And so I went and got all the materials and I invited all the families to the lodge to create those. And we did. So like I said, there's just lots of those kinds of opportunities. Yeah, Stephanie, I followed your, because you were doing that at Orlando. So it's like, okay, well, we're little Orlando this year.
Well, and it's good though. Orlando is a really huge place for families during the winter time. And that season kind of lasts anywhere from like November to April usually. The most are usually just after Christmas until March. But this year we had weekly co-op style classes. So we had moms come in and teach string art, and we had a lady in the park come in and talk about butterfly chrysalises, and just every week we had something different, and it was really, really fun to get those kids involved and have something to do and meet kids and families every week. And it was sometimes a new family every week, because people still are moving around. But it was really fun, and we had potlucks for Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's, and yeah, so it's really fun. And but like Barbara said, to you're going to only get out of it how much you put into it, right? So sometimes we really have to be vulnerable and put ourselves out there and just be willing to meet and show up. And showing up is half the battle, right? So yeah, it's what you put into it too. So it's definitely put me outside of my comfort zone. I almost failed speech in college because I would never get up in front of a crowd and talk. And here I am.
And I've watched her stand in front of 73 other families.
I know.
1 minute. Yep, 1 minute. So, Stephanie, you're saying I know Orlando is a really big place for families to go during the winter, and we got a very, very small taste of it just for a day. In November, we were there and we met a couple full-time families. Now we noticed that there were quite a few families like all parked right next to each other. Do they coordinate that together? And then when you make your reservation or when you're checking in, how does that work? That if you do connect with other families and you would like to try to be in a spot close to them,
right?
And, all parties agree.
Right. Yeah. So, it used to be, well, with all Thousand Trails, it's first come, first serve. So,
Not all.
Well, the majority, not
There
the
you go.
Encore parks, but the majority of Thousand Trails parks, you pull in and they might drive you around and show you the available spots. But generally it's kind of like, well, you have to go find your own spot. A lot of families here in the Orlando area will say, well, they'll post that morning or the night before, what's open, where are all the families parked. And it used to be, there was one field circle style that a lot of families tried to get on, so that they're like all of the rigs their tail ends are pointing to the circle, so the kids could just run and play in that circle. This year we've had a lot of groups break out and go in other areas, and they usually it's just where the families parked, and there's a lot of families will be like, I'm over in C whatever, or I'm in F whatever, and yeah, park by us, or there's an open spot over here. And so it usually just try to group together where you can. But most families are like, come on, we're here, come and join us. So nobody's ever said, hey, don't park by me.
Well, and that's where those
families that want to be like away from families will park in areas they know that's a little bit off, or back in the back of the campground. Maybe they have, I've heard some families say, well, my son, if he sees people or kids playing at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, I'll never get him to do his school, or I'll never get him to focus. So some families prefer to have a little less social, but usually they'll park in areas where it's a little, just a little off to themselves.
And then you'll have,
Thank you.
as you meet people and you make friends, you'll have friends who will say, we're in this section. Come, please come. So, and in some of the busier parks, it's really nice to have those eyes in the park, because they can tell you where things are coming open. Over the winter, a couple of different times I walked the park to find spots for those that I knew were coming in, uh, to make sure that they, because there's a couple of places that you don't want to park. You don't want to be next to the person who works at Thousand Trails and tells on every time your kid walks out the door without you.
And that
We had that this winter. So we know, you learn when you're in a park, those that happens, and you're just like, okay, let's keep our friends away from these people if we can. At the beginning, Andy had asked a question, and this is one of those things where these boards really can come in handy. Andy had asked if anybody had ever gotten help because of our village.
Right.
I don't know about our village, but what I can tell you is on the branches. This winter, one of our families, 3 days on the road, their truck broke down. Their truck and their RV are sitting on the side of the interstate. They are less than 20 miles away from the campground. They put it out there. I saw it. Somebody else saw it. Next thing you know, one of our other families had the same fifth wheel hitch. They were out there. They got the truck unhitched, got the RV hitched up, got the truck tow strapped up to a safe place where it was off the interstate, and brought the RV in so they could get checked in while they tried to get the tow truck out there for the truck. So that's one of those ways where I know for a fact that Fulltime families and the branches that we have will be there and help. I don't think I've ever seen a call for help not go answered.
Right.
And
Yeah, generally people will step up. Where are you at? What do you need? I've even seen moms, the whole nother family roll up and go like, "We're taking your kids, and
Yep.
you guys do what you need to do." Or it's there's been countless ways of people helping each other, which is awesome.
Yeah, that happened at Balloon Fiesta, right? One of the families, their tow rig broke down. Somebody else took their child miles away.
Yes. Yes, the Martins, yeah, their bus broke down, and so someone told their rig, and the kids were split up, and like, I'll take this kid, you take that kid, and it's just stepped up to help the family in any way they can, and generally it doesn't matter who you are, people will step up for you, which is one thing I just love so much about this community. Yeah, we're all just extended family.
We are. Yeah, that it really is that we are extended family, that it is. But again, to be the involvement, the amount that you put in, is going to reflect how much you get out. So be involved. I don't expect everybody to host a campfire, but come. Somebody will be hosting one this summer. Come to the campfire and enjoy the time there. Bring the babies. Other people will help you with your toddler. I know that's one of the things that I've heard, is that it's really hard because I have a toddler, and like, you have older moms like me who miss toddlers. Guess what? We'll help you with your toddler. Just say something. So I think with that, are there any other questions? Okay, so if there's not.
Barbara.
Oh,
Barbara,
yes.
I was just going to say, I haven't launched yet, but I have found so much connection and help and advice by attending all different things connected with Fulltime families without a rig, let alone a campground. So, we've run up to Tucson and participated in a branch campfire, and I got to meet people from Traveling Mercies, and we've been doing this, and it's been very exciting for us knowing that it's not quite as hard as we thought to meet people already, we're accumulating, people that we will be able to eventually meet up with in person or meet up with again in person. So it's exciting.
Yes. And it's that taking that step out, right?
Right.
I mean, it's, and whether you're haven't launched, you've launched, or you're years into it. I recently met somebody who had been on the road full time 5 years. They had never been part of a community full timing. They had kind of just, they'd meet a few people here and there, and they had made some friends along the way. But then they got to see full time families in action, and they joined.
Yeah, you really hit a nerve the other night when you said that you had joined prior to setting out on the road, and that community was so important to you. And that's exactly how I feel. Is I feel like creating a supportive network is super important in this endeavor. So here we are.
It is good to have you here, Emma and Amy. When do you guys launch? Okay, Emma, you guys are launching like as soon as you can, correct?
Yeah.
And then Amy?
We were supposed to launch this past week ago, last Friday. So as soon as we're able to, we're in New Jersey, so I don't know if there will be guidelines, if they're not going to want us coming through certain states. So we'll have to just really pay attention to any requirements or restrictions put into place with that. But,
okay. Soon though. Soon.
Yes.
Yay. So again, look through those branches, find the ones that speak to you. There's a whole bunch of them to choose from. So one more time, any other questions? Okay, guys, it was great to spend this time with you. I hope that you have some more tools to help you make connections and enjoy this community as much as I do. And I will see you guys down the road.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great morning.